So I have a little bit different story of how I became a funeral director, and I'll take you through that about how an artist found herself in the family business. So the Capstone, I guess, was based on leading myself, how to be my authentic self in such a way that would be accepted by my peers, my father, my grandfather, and all of those that I encounter on a weekly, daily, basis, with guidance from my peers and Marguerite and all the mentors throughout this process. I was able to arrive where I am today, and I'm very proud of, within 2 years, to me that's a short amount of time to really find that, and I'm grateful. So thank you. I will never work for my father. Worked out real well. Just growing up in the same household, I couldn't imagine how that could work out in a, professional way. So this is kind of the setup. I was beginning business school at Loyola University in New Orleans, getting my bachelor's degree, and I was mentoring as a Mardi Gras float sketch artist with Blaine Kern's Mardi Gras World, and as well as working as much as I possibly could for the Roma Guerra Photography Studio. They are on the west bank of New Orleans, very near our funeral homes, and I was taking pictures of high school students, which at that point, they are the happiest person in the world. They're looking the best they'll probably look in their life. They are in their finest clothes, hair, everything's done, and they're ready to take some pictures and make some memories and blast them all over Facebook. It was so much fun. We had music, energy, everything was great. And Katrina hit fall of my senior year. I was vice president of my sorority, in charge of recruitment, Delta Gamma of Loyola, and everything was, to an extent, high energy and no idea what was ahead of us when Katrina hit. I was forced to go to LSU, which was the only university close to me that was open, and if I wanted to finish college in the spring through Loyola, I had to stay on track and go there. Roma Guerra Photography closed and had no plans of reopening, at least for a whole school year, and they couldn't take me back. And I wanted income, I wanted to stay on track with school, and didn't have a plan. And Dad said, just do your fall semester, and when we get back, in the spring, we'll reassess, and maybe you'll give me a year. He said, in this world, you never know who you're gonna marry, where you're gonna end up, what's going to happen, and if you at least give me a year after you're having your undergrad, you'll have the opportunity to have a meal ticket, he called it, where if Katrina displaces you, etc., you can provide for your family, have benefits, and a reputable career of serving a community. I was an unemployed artist in a mortuary just to get a license, and my coworkers knew it. I graduate with my bachelor's degree in the spring and come on board and was met with a lot of resistance. A little bit of jokes and sabotage, and you'll never make it in this, how do you put a squiggle in a straitjacket in a box? It was just not going to work out. And of course, the conservative family and sixth generation owner was this big, hat that they put on me, and it was very typecast, and it was very frustrating. I felt like I walked in, I had a lot of expectations, and at the same time was just a glorified secretary following around a funeral director here, following around a funeral director there. Oh, you got to do this, you got to stand here, you got to look right. And pantyhose. I hate pantyhose. Hate them with a passion. I still struggle to turn off the normal me, is what I call it, the one that's in my living room every day and around my friends, and put on the professional me. It's really difficult. And the uniform for females in our organization is the skirt suit, or a dress with the blazer matching and the pantyhose and a conservative shoe, My dad makes me wear my hair back. Like, the more librarian I can look, the better. I think if he could put me in a Catholic nun habit, he would consider it. So where do I fit in? The fake it till you make it mantra was about me. I bought 2 suits and the damn pantyhose. And on a weekly basis, Miss Hope at Walgreens would say, "You again," because I was going in to buy another pair of legs pantyhose. I had ripped them some sort of way, and it was just the worst $6 nightmare you could imagine. Let's see. It was truly culture shock. The central desk and paperwork processing for the arrangers and the cremation paperwork, answering the phones, shadowing Barry and the other directors. It was just this pressure cooker. And I'm a squiggle. I'm used to an organic day where you're a photographer and you're an artist and you have your own time, and now I'm on a schedule. It's regimented. There are families who are, breathing down your neck for their death certificates. And just everything was snowballing and feeling really, really overwhelming, and it was like the walls were closing in around me. I just didn't know where I was going to fit in. Let's see. And I have a lot of negative Nancys that I work with, and I was trying to, pioneer some positivity around me. There's a joke that I use. It's called, "Oh, come on, kids, rainbows and unicorns, please. Let's do this." And they kind of giggle, and it kind of lightens the mood a little bit when everybody feels the doldrums coming along, but it is quite difficult. They're used to a kind of dictatorship regimen, and we're trying to make it a little bit more better every day, is what I call it. So it's quite the challenge. After a year in 2007, it's test time. So I take my state boards and pass, and thank God. But then I became engaged. So my husband proposes, and I'm now, opting out of the funeral director mindset and constantly on my phone or on the internet researching. I'm on the knot.com. I'm like, look at this dress, it's amazing. I'm looking at the flowers in the funerals, being like, that's a good one, that's a good one. And just trying to say, is this my life? Is this really happening? And it was. And so here we are in 2007. I get married in 2008. Work is just paper to me at that point, 8 to 5, and I've tried to avoid the emotional attachment to it because I still was resistant to the idea that I wasn't going back to that life I was used to. So it was quite a challenge. I was almost fired over Facebook and all of these, surfing, social sites, etc. And I'm in denial that this is really happening. So Dad puts a firewall in place to block everything but Google, basically. We don't have a website at that point. We barely have an email address, and it's still at yahoo.com, and it's not at mottfuneralhomes.com. So I'm a social media junkie, and saying we don't even have wireless in this building, and preaching to the choir because my coworkers are like, we know, good luck, bring it up at the board meeting, ha ha ha. I'm like, Things are progressing, and I'm in the arrangement office a little bit more here and there, but still chained to that desk. I find out there's a quote that is famous around our mortuary madness. It's called "The Right Way, the Wrong Way, and the Mott Way." And it had to do with why they thought certain versions of accounting were better and why we do double entry, and we have the computer accounting program, but we still have a handwritten general ledger. And everything is double the time, double the work, but they don't believe that the computer is going to stay perfect, and when they have to go back and reference everything, they want the paper trail. So, I'm bored to death, still begging to do the tribute DVDs, which are the slide, shows during the visitations and such, and they don't want technology in the arrangement office, in the funeral parlors, in the chapel. We barely have a sound system, and it's still a play. What is it, an 8-track thing? It's disgusting. All right. I'm telling you. So, finally, in 2010, my sister, who's younger than I am, she's 3.5 years difference. She graduates from college in Lafayette, and she comes aboard, and she's going to do the central desk. But our administrative manager at the cemetery office was retiring. So there was a need for someone to shadow her and at least know the paperwork and do those things so that when she retired, at least in the meantime, she could take over and until we hired the next person. And she's been there ever since. So just to show you, she did do her year with us, and that freed me to be more of a director on a daily basis and not such a glorified secretary, as I call it. So that was refreshing. I was with people again, and it felt great. And I loved the idea that all of a sudden it became a service-oriented experience and not just, oh, let's take some pictures. There was all of a sudden some meaning, and I was seeing friends and family come through the door, and things were starting to develop. So it was an interesting time. But I'm still a broken record. I want things to be more better. We need technology, wireless, a website, tribute DVDs, and my coworkers are still going, good luck. Rainbows and unicorns. So permission gets granted, sort of. In 2010, Dad attends another NFDA convention, and after meeting Funeral One, he decides maybe Nicole can try this out, and before we launch it, I'll review it with a fine-tooth comb. So we fill out their template from A to Z. I'm inventing the wording. I am having to get a professional photographer to take pictures of all of our staff. This is the first time any of this has existed. So I'm trying to ask around who's already has this in place, and how do we not try and invent the wheel ourselves. I made some sample DVD tributes and continued to push, and Dad tested them on a few families, and they're like, we love this. This is amazing. And he's like, I know. And then 2012, baby on board, and we fire our entire sandblasting department at the cemetery. Dad says, can't you work that computer? I said, absolutely. If they could do it, I could do it. And I had to figure out how to work the vinyl cutting machine. And I'm Prego, tennies, workout pants, shirts, and sticking stencil to the tomb doors for the sandblaster for 10 months. It was a good time. But I was glad to have a break. You know, it was like, okay, all of a sudden, hey, I'm out the building. I have a little bit more of breathing room now. I don't have to be in a suit with the belly trying to conduct funerals and turn caskets. And it just felt, okay, this is a nice little break, but I know what's coming after baby. I'm going right back to it. How do I make this a different, more better experience for myself and maybe for my coworkers? How do I start to grow? So Dad's starting to realize that social media is not the enemy. So I thought that maybe this would be my path. I could be the tech support chick. If you ever called India, I was like, hello, my name is Nicole. May I help you? You know, it was everybody started to get an iPhone, and they were like, Nicole, fix this thing. Here, take it. You know, I don't know what I did to it. So everything started to kind of become this. I taught Dad that it could be instant controllable communication, that maybe Facebook wasn't the enemy, that the website was a successful place for this obituary, you know, tribute wall to exist, and people were commenting, and he was seeing it grow. I was posting the videos online, and people were visiting that to watch on the anniversary of the death, etc. So we were reinforcing our brand, and in 2013, Dad put wireless in the buildings for us. Amen. Yay, people. So coworkers give me some high fives here. So I began by claiming all of the real estate online, the Google pages and search information. I wanted to go to Google and say, okay, if you type in Mott Funeral Home, what came up? And it was quite interesting. There were some Facebook pages that existed because people had already checked in to our firm, but we didn't have a perfect page. It just said Mott Funeral Home, 23 people had checked in, and nothing. It's kind of sad. When you do websites, they also talk about keywords and indexing, what to include on each page so that when someone types it in, what exists there. And then I had this blog idea. How do I create a forum that's more easily updated, similar to a Facebook news page, but that our directors could use, I could use, Dad could use. If we're doing community events and such, we could recap it, post some pictures there, link it to the website, link it to even a Pinterest of poems and pictures and things that are helpful for families. So this is starting to develop, and that's what I decided to call the art of funerals. And it's starting very I would say recently, about a week and a half ago, he said, hey, you have a blog. And I said, where is it? And he said, it's connected to your website, but you won't see it on the public side until you're ready to do your first post. So I wasn't quite prepared to present that to you now, but it is starting, so I'm very excited. Did it, edited the content, linked it to our site, and uploaded pictures. So now when you Google Mott Funeral Home, even the pin, when you're GPSing it, had to be moved to the right address so that they're not circling the area. It puts you right at our front door now. So that was a beautiful thing. Facebook, it did already exist, so I claimed ownership of it. You plug in your email address, say I'm the owner, edit, add the pictures, started that up. The website, Funeral One, did a wonderful job for us. The ease of use was spectacular. Our directors embraced it right away. They were able to copy and paste from an email to our website and make sure that the public knew they could link to it on Facebook and broadcast to everyone they knew that afternoon after the arrangement when and where the funeral was going to be, and they could start to sign the guest book right away and not wait for the next edition of the paper to come out before they understood what was happening for this family. So the Selected Leadership Academy came along, and this self-discovery was really thrown in my face. Say, hey, Nicole, who are you truly? Personality-wise, business-wise, where do you fall on the graph kind of thing? And I had never existed before, so I appreciated the opportunity. I was able to find out I was a level 10 squiggle, but I took the test like a classic high school and college person that knows how to take a Scantron and give the right answer and not take it honestly. So when I got my disc profile, I was a big fat square. Like that. So, oh, shoot. Squiggling, sorry. So I learned about me. I saw our company with new eyes. It was sort of an awakening. I was able to see my coworkers for more than just their attitude of the day. I was able to see more of their personality, adapt, grow, learn how to be a better version of myself when I'm with them. That whole 5 points of the star thing where you have to kind of rise above who you are and adapt to who they are to get the message more clear, more effectively. It just felt right, like I was finding my way. I revised my interpretation of the Mott way. It was because I was so hell-bent that that's my dad, and he's telling me what to do. But then it became not that Boyd said so, but because the firm had been around for 120 years and seen the tried and true, most effective ways to do things for our community. And as a team, what became the Mott way. And by looking at it through those eyes, I was able to accept and start to develop what is the new current Mott way to me. And that felt great too. So the culmination of my creativity is happening in this new blog, The Art of Funerals. It's a platform modeled after those artists and fashion bloggers who I follow daily. So I'm always on Instagram looking for, oh, look at how cute they dress this little kid. How can I make my little kid look like this? I want that for a funeral. So if I have a great funeral and the family gives me permission or some pictures that they might have from their phones. We had a humongous funeral with all of these. It was this Asian family. They were Buddhist. They had their hand-painted murals and banners hung all over the parlor, and how they were able to transform our basic room, which sort of looks like this with a curtain in the front, into this magical. We were in Vietnam. It was amazing. And they had flowers everywhere. And I said, give me the pictures. We'll share this and show other families how they can do their version of this. So it seems to be mimicking what I've been watching all along. So current events, relevant information, consumer education and resources. Say it's tax time. What can you prepare for? And resources like, what's a DD-214 look like? What can you do for a flag, et cetera, for veterans, and making those things happen and easily accessible. It's a marketing tool for our brand, easily edited and updated. Within 5 minutes, I can have information out there. Still hate the pantyhose, people, but it's getting there, and I just thank you. I thank everybody for helping me get to this point. I know I'm still a young pup, but next year I'll make 10 years with the company. And to find myself now and not when I'm, 50s or 60s and finally say, oh, I have permission now to lead or permission now to be myself. I can now be a better version of what I'm meant to be as the owner's kid, according to the group there. So thank you everyone for your time and for putting up with me.